Once upon a time, there was a man named Robert. He lived in a small village with his wife and 2 children. Robert loved his family very much. His wife was a wonderful cook, and Robert loved his wife's cooking. Robert worked as a loader. Many farmers were his customers. Every day he carried heavy sacks, bags of rice, wheat, barley, and fresh vegetables. He traveled to the market in the big city, delivering goods to shopkeepers. In the early morning, Elizabeth entered the kitchen to prepare breakfast. She whisked together flour, milk, eggs, and a bit of sugar in a bowl, creating a smooth pancake batter. She placed a pan on the stove, adding some oil that sparkled as it heated. Once the oil was hot, she carefully poured the batter into the pan, watching it sizzle and bubble as it cooked. As the edges turned golden, she flipped the pancake and let it cook for some time. Once it was browned on the other side, she took it out onto a plate. Meanwhile, she filled a pot with water for boiled eggs, letting it simmer until the eggs were perfectly cooked. After cooling them under cold water, she peeled off the shells. Placed the eggs on each plate, and then sprinkled them with salt and black pepper. Finally, she boiled water for tea. She added tea leaves and let them steep. Then, she poured in half a cup of milk and added 4 tablespoons of sugar. Then she poured the tea into 4 cups, and then set up breakfast on the floor. Meanwhile, Robert woke up, stretched, and got out of bed. He went to take a quick bath, then dressed himself in his work clothes. He could smell breakfast already cooking, and he smiled, knowing his wife, Elizabeth, was busy in the kitchen. Just then, their children, Julie and John, began to wake up in their room. Rubbing their eyes, they yawned and rushed to the washroom one by one. After taking a bath, brushing their teeth, and putting on their school uniforms, they joined their parents. As they gathered around, Julie smiled and said,
"These pancakes are delicious."
John nodded in agreement, quickly finishing his plate. After breakfast, Julie and John grabbed their backpacks and headed to school, while Robert set out for work. Robert arrived at Farmer Michael's field and smiled at him.
"Are you ready to load the wheat?"
Michael asked.
"Yes. Let's do it,"
Robert replied. After loading the heavy sacks onto his cart, he drove to the city. At the busy market, he went from shop to shop, unloading the sacks one by one.
How much for 3 sacks?
The shopkeeper asked.
That will be $30.
Robert replied. The shopkeeper handed him the money and said,
Thank you.
Robert noted down the amount the shopkeeper paid. Robert then moved to the second shop.
You took 4 sacks.
He said.
How much do I owe you?
The shopkeeper asked.
That will be $40.
The shopkeeper paid him and smiled.
Thanks for the delivery.
Robert noted down the amount. After delivering the sacks, Robert stopped by the grocery store. He picked up a small pack of tea, a carton of milk, some fresh vegetables, and a few spices. At the counter, he handed his items to the shopkeeper, who added everything up and said,
That will be $15.
Robert nodded and paid the bill. As Robert walked through the street, he noticed a shop display filled with school uniforms, shoes, and bags.
The kids' final exams are coming up, and the new school year will start soon.
He thought to himself.
I need to save more money. Julie needs a new uniform since hers is 2 years old. And John's shoes are almost torn.
When Robert returned to the village, he went to Michael and handed him the money from the shopkeepers.
Here's what they paid for the wheat.
He said. Michael smiled and replied,
Thanks, Robert. Here's your wage for delivering the sacks.
After receiving his wages, Robert came home. Elizabeth was busy in the kitchen for preparing dinner. After dinner, once they sat down with cups of tea, Elizabeth said,
The final exams are near, and soon the new school year will start. The kids need uniforms, shoes, bags, and books as well.
Robert nodded and replied,
I know. I'm trying to save money for all those things.
One day, after finishing his work, Robert passed by a bakery and saw a display of delicious cakes.
I should buy at least 1 cake for kids. The kids will be so happy.
He thought. He walked into the shop and asked the shopkeeper,
How much is that cake?
The shopkeeper replied.
It's $15.
Robert frowned and said,
That's too much for me. I will just take 2 pastries, please.
When Robert reached home, he smiled and gave the box of pastries, saying,
I brought you a treat.
Johns asked.
What is it?
Pastries.
Robert replied.
Yay!
They cheered, taking the box and happily enjoying their snack. One day, while Robert was passing by the poultry shop, one of the heavy sacks he was carrying slipped from and fell onto a chicken. The shopkeeper shouted,
"Oh no! That chicken is dead!"
Robert quickly exclaimed,
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
There was a big crowd outside the poultry shop. They raised voices that could be heard.
There seems to be some fight going on there.
Thought a wise man who was walking through the market. He decided to take a look and pushed his way to the center. The owner of the poultry shop was yelling at the loader, who was constantly repeating,
It was only an accident, sir.
The man asked someone and learned that the loader was carrying a heavy sack of wheat. It slipped and fell on a chicken, which was crushed to death. The owner now demanded $25 for the dead chicken from the loader.
But it costs only $5, sir.
Pleaded Robert.
In 2 years, my chicken would have grown into a fine bird. It would have fetched me $25. You killed it!
Screamed the owner, grabbing Robert by the collar. The wise man stepped forward and said,
I can solve your dispute if you agree.
Both agreed and told their stories.
I think you should pay this man $25. After all, it was your carelessness that caused his chicken's death,
said the man finally. The poultry owner was delighted. He rubbed his hands together, and Robert looked miserable. The crowd was amazed.
How could that man make such a decision?
Just then, the man spoke again.
How much grain does your chicken eat in 1 year?
At least half a sack, sir,
replied the poultry owner.
That means in 2 years, your chicken would have eaten 1 sack of grain at least. Then you give this loader 1 sack of grain, which he has saved for you, and he will give you $25 for the chicken.
The smile on the face of the owner vanished.
1 sack of grain. It cost much more than $25.
He knew he had been caught trying to cheat the poor loader. The poultry shop owner sighed and said,
Sir, I will take just $5 for my chicken.
The crowd looked very happy. This was justice indeed. Robert paid $5 to the poultry owner. who took it quietly with no more argument. The wise man went on his way.